Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Coffee Talks. This is the show where we talk all things training, nutrition, performance, and lifestyle. Cara is a professional footballer and a strength and conditioning coach. It's easy for me to say. I'm also a coach both in the gym and on the pitch, and so it's our goal to share some of our experiences with you to help you elevate your own performance. Today, we're kind of going backwards a little bit. And we want to go back to some of our earlier episodes and just kind of chat a little bit about those. And hopefully you'll see why it's important that you also look back and kind of reflect on where you are right now, where your goals kind of maybe were, and, does everything still kind of stack up? So with that said, we want to chat a little bit about elite mindset, or as I said this morning, champion mentality. What is it like? How you get there? What are the kind of attributes and kind of like mental attitudes that you need if you want to kind of compete at that highest level? And this isn't just for professional sports people. Like, everyone can compete at their own highest level, whatever that is, whether it's in your career or relationships or like whatever it is. Everybody can always elevate their own performance. So with that said, we kind of want to chat a little bit about goals and habits, which we've done already. If you haven't seen those episodes, go back and watch them. They're probably like episodes 3 and 4. They're early on in the series. But you want to chat a little bit about kind of looking at your goals and realigning those and things like that?
Every now and again, it's super important just to take stock and stop and see where you're at and decide whether you're still moving towards the goals that you previously set. What is moving you closer to those that you need to still continue to do, or maybe continue to do those things better? Or what are the things that you need to step away from that are taking you further away from your goals? It can be really easy to just have sort of tunnel vision and all of a sudden just get into a little bit of no man's land nearly and become a little bit stagnant. And sometimes you don't even realize that you're becoming stagnant. And I think it's just taking that little pause, whether that's on a weekly, bi-weekly or monthly basis, just to say, like, where am I actually at? Am I happy and satisfied? Just in life with who I am, with who I'm becoming, and with the things that I want to achieve, and what needs to change and what needs to stay the same, what needs to improve. So yeah, we're encouraging people in this episode to maybe look back over the last maybe 6 to 8 weeks, where you've come and more importantly, where you're going.
Yeah, it's massive. And I think we're all guilty of it at times where you just get into the routine and just like the ebb and flow of life. And sometimes you kind of just float through. Yeah, you literally cruise through and all of a sudden like a month's passed. And
that's it. I think we say at the end of every month, we're like, oh my goodness, November's over.
I know.
October's been and gone.
Yeah.
Like, where has that gone? And it's so important then to just look back at like the highs of that month and what brought you joy and what you were thankful for, what you were grateful for, what you want to do more of, and like what really brings you joy and peace in life as well. Not just always like what is making you perform at your best, but also what's making you happiest.
Yeah, and that's massive. And that's kind of, I suppose we're kind of going off script a little bit with this because that too, like expressing that kind of gratitude is something that will lead to an elevated mindset. Like, how can you perform at your best? And it's taking stock and realizing those things that you are thankful for. I suppose when it comes to like a professional kind of sports person or someone who's even competing just week to week, when it comes to like your goals and habits and things, you're very much results based. So, every week you play a match, you either win, lose or draw. And so, do you think in that kind of regard, is it easier for you as a professional footballer to go, I'm on track or I'm not on track? Or is that kind of just, are the results all just part of the process?
I think we've talked even as a collective team about how success doesn't always have to be results based, and there are other markers for success. But ultimately, when you're in a results based business, the stats don't lie, the league table that you're in doesn't lie, and that has to be the ultimate measurement of your performance and of your success. Because particularly yesterday, when it went into yesterday's game, the only thing that we were focused on was the outcome, because we knew how desperately we needed to win. A lot of the time, we've been heavily focused on we're playing well, we're performing well, but we're not getting the results. And I think it just kind of came to a point where, particularly yesterday, it was like, I don't care if we're outplayed, dominated for 90 minutes. If we come out with 3 points, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
And that's what was so important. So I think there are times when you lean into maybe the performance side of things, or maybe other factors outside of the result. But I think that's probably just to try and bring a little bit more encouragement to continue to look at positives, and not always have the focus on the result, because then that can make you downhearted and you can completely neglect the things that you are doing well and the things that you need to continue to do well, and not to stop doing those things, but what needs to be added, what else do we need to do to just get us to that end goal, which ultimately is a positive outcome and a result.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think what you said at the very start of that about success not necessarily being measured by the result of a match, because that's the thing, like in life, we will face challenges that the odds are totally stacked against us. And so whenever we face whatever that is, whether it be a match or, a career decision or just something, whatever it is, there are still markers along the journey that you can stop and look at and go, well, actually I did that better this time than I maybe did last time. And that in itself is, a marker of success, I think.
Yeah, because ultimately you can do everything right and tick every box that you wanted to tick, but still not get the outcome that you wanted, because things that are out of your control mean that you couldn't reach that outcome.
Huge. That kind of takes us on to the next thing, which is resilience. It's something that we've talked about a lot recently. I guess based on kind of your journey with the team this season. We've both read a book multiple times called Legacy, and it's the story of the All Blacks, who for a period of time were probably considered the most successful sports team in the world and of all time. And kind of the stories that they kind of share from their journey are unbelievable. So if you're someone who kind of likes that sort of kind of personal development and even just like good sports biographies, it's one of those ones that you have to read. But one of the things they talk about in it is resilience. And basically they're trying to get across the point that, resilient people don't let setbacks get in their way. And so, it's very, again, going back to the kind of sports kind of thing, it's very easy like to see a defeat and get downhearted by it and whatever else. But their whole mentality was built around nothing will stop them, nothing will get in their way, setbacks and all that won't, deter them from their ultimate goal of being the absolute best. And that's something you can speak to over kind of this past number of weeks, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a case of, I think I always thought of mental resilience just being, you're never rocked by anything and you can never kind of show emotion and be disappointed and be upset about circumstances. But I think what I've realized is that you can acknowledge that a situation really sucks and you are down and you're upset. But again, it's like the response and realizing that all of those things are revealing character and building character to push you forward and to continue to make you more driven and to use all of that emotion and channel it in the correct way to make you even hungrier to go and change the situation, realizing that the only person or the only people that can change the scenario are you. You're in it and no one else is going to do it for you. It's if you want something to change, you've got to take action and you've got to do it yourself.
The final thing when it comes to that kind of elite mindset that we're talking about, the two words that a lot of people kind of run away from, I think, when times get hard, are discipline and consistency. And just that idea of like always showing up and controlling the controllables. Again, we talk about it all the time, but you know, you can only control the things that are at your disposal, you know, so you can control the time you go to bed, the time you get up, the time you eat your meals, you know, what you're eating, all this sort of thing. Like when you're training, you know, you can't necessarily control sickness or like, you know, things that get your way, things that crop up at work or whatever. But if you keep in control all of those small things, like the difference that makes in the grand scheme of things is massive. And I think those things will always outweigh the stuff outside of your control.
Yeah. The saying that I try to repeat to myself as much as possible is the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So like you can't just switch on and switch off. You can't just flick a switch and turn into this elite mindset. It's that stacking, you know, that habit stacking, being consistent, doing the little things and the basics really, really well. And people hear that all the time, and it's almost overused that I think we've become like numb to it, of doing the small things well and doing the basics well. Because if you then try to take the jump from, you know, just the basic things to the really huge things, yes, you might be able to take a step, but you're not going to be able to step as far as someone who is like consistently like built all of these blocks up. Then they can step even further than you can. You're maybe only getting to 70% of what someone else is at, who's, you know, daily got to like 85, 90%, and then they can push on even higher. I wish I had a better analogy for that, but yeah, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. It's daily, it's the basics, and it's doing those consistently well, trying to do everything with excellence.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I always kind of think of as world-class basics.
Yeah.
And that's something from when I was playing rugby was, you know, all these little simple things, you know, like the pass and the running into certain spaces, like all that sort of thing. If you can do those things well, you know, all the other kind of fancy stuff will come, you know, and that's the thing. Yeah, like meal prepping isn't sexy. There's nothing enjoyable standing on a Sunday night and getting your meals ready for the next 3 or 4 days. But like, those are the things that set champions apart, genuinely. And I'm not just saying that. Like, that is the stuff that will make or break your success when it comes to your training and nutrition. So always showing up and controlling all that stuff. Those were our kind of 4 or 5 points, I think, that we believe certainly lead to that kind of elite mentality, that champion mindset. We would love to hear from you if you think there's anything else that you know that you do or that you've seen modeled by other people that really just sets them apart or sets you apart. We'd love to hear that. We'd love to share it with everybody else because we're all on this journey together as a collective. So there we go. Thank you for listening again. We appreciate your time. We hope you're enjoying it. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you on the next one.